Story 1. Is it true? No, not necessarily. People learn and grow from mistakes. That being said, don't feel like it's your responsibility to give anyone a second chance. If they cheat, it's over, is what I comfortably live by. Story 2. I think that's probably true within the context of a given relationship. I think across many relationships it's more a mismatch of intentions, either inadvertently or purposely, or someone being driven to find satisfaction elsewhere that they aren't getting from their current partner, either inadvertently or purposely. But no, I don't think someone who has cheated on person A will necessarily cheat on person B. Story 3. Everyone is different. Look at criminals. I will use theft as the crime for this analogy. There are people who only steal once before learning their lesson. There are people who steal many times, and it takes many lessons to stop stealing. There are people who devote their entire lives to stealing and will never stop no matter how many times they get caught or learn a lesson. Story 4. The type of person who will cheat on their partner is more likely to cheat on subsequent partners, yes. It's an incredibly selfish thing to do and a huge breach of trust. That lack of consideration for another person doesn't magically go away because they're now with someone else. It requires intervention, such as therapy, to work through why they felt that was okay and to recognize what to do instead in the future. Most people aren't self-aware enough to seek that out and won't change. Story 5. You have to judge each person as you meet and come to know them, which is the tricky part. Whether they have cheated in the past or not, and how vulnerable you are to it if they have, is just navigating life. But once somebody has cheated on you, now that's permanent. Story 6. I think that it holds a lot of truth for the specific relationship. When the cheater enters a new relationship, it might turn them around. But if you have cheated on your current partner, then I sadly think you will again. Story 7. I was her third boyfriend, and she was my first girlfriend. She cheated on the first two, but I wasn't about to pass up my chance at something that seemed good. She cheated. Story 8. I disagree with that statement because some people can change. However, you have to endure their behavior until they decide to change. I would not be able to do it, but everyone's tolerance level is different. Story 9. Not absolutely. One of my friends was a notorious cheater, never faithful in a single one of his relationships, until he fell head over heels for the last girl he cheated with. They married and had 5 children, and he was 100% faithful. Then she cheated on him because it turns out that people who steal other people's partners have poor morals too. Story 10. Everyone changes all the time. Everyone makes mistakes in life, but beware of people who make the same mistakes repeatedly. Sure, if you want to judge someone for cheating, it's fine, but I try not to judge people simply on a few of their lowest points or actions in their life. Story 11. Every time I trusted someone that promised it, it never changed. I've been in plenty of situations where I get cheated on and lied to. People change, but in today's era, I don't know. Story 12. The majority of people I know who have cheated have done it multiple times. I have met men who have cheated on every woman they have been with. If I found out the woman I was dating cheated in a past relationship, I would lose a ton of trust in her, even if it was years ago. Story 13. In my experience, it is true more often than not. On an individual basis, people can learn and not repeat their behavior, but on a larger scale, I feel like I see chronic cheaters too often. Story 14. Because I did cheat on my ex-girlfriend, I do have some thoughts on this. This is my personal opinion. Just because a person has cheated in the past does not mean that they will ever do it again. Speaking for myself, I would never cheat on someone again because the amount of pain and suffering I caused to the girl that I loved with all my heart broke me. 2. However, some people never change from their past behavior and continue to cheat. So I wouldn't say it's as easy as just labeling someone a cheater for their past mistake. We make mistakes, and the only important thing is to learn from your mistakes to ensure they never happen again. Story 15. People can change, but they have to want to change. And they have to want to change for themselves. I did. It took me realizing that I wanted to be happy with what I looked at in the mirror every day. I wanted to be a good man and to be remembered as a good man, not the scumbag I had been for a long time. Story 16. People are capable of changing, and I'm so tired of people acting like our beliefs and personalities are set in stone. There are countless cheating stories out there whose main premise is the immediate regret they felt once it happened. Then they see how it affects someone they love and can understand the magnitude of their actions. It's unfortunate that some people need to mess around to be able to find out, but at least they are capable of finding out. Story 17. Cheated on my first wife more times than I care to admit. I've been married to my second wife for 7 years. I've never even once thought about cheating on her. Make sure you are happy in a relationship. Otherwise, just leave. Story 18. No one is obligated to give others a second chance, but that they repented, etc. And people who cheated are probably more likely to do it again than those who never did. But the belief that people do not or cannot change is patently false. Story 19. Anyone can change, but trust takes time to rebuild, and that's a huge loss of trust. If there's been time since someone cheated, and reasons offered to believe they've grown and changed as a person, sure, there's ground for belief they're different now. But an empty apology or dismissing it means they don't take responsibility and don't want to. A person admitting, yes, when I was in college in my early 20s, I made mistakes and cheated on a couple of partners. It was terrible and stupid, and I regret it deeply. I've worked to become an honest communicator who values trust and treats relationships with respect. Can be given a chance to prove it. Someone who's cheated recently and is immediately jumping into a new relationship? No. They're the ones demanding that you trust them while doing nothing to prove themselves worthy of that trust. Story 20. I think it depends on age and maturity. If your frontal lobe is fully developed and you are willing to hurt others for your own pleasurable gain once, you will do it twice, and so on. Young people make mistakes and learn. After a certain age, you have developed your morality level and you know better. You just do not care. Story 21. I mean, it's technically true if it only happens once. But I think these things do have variables. If someone is just disrespectful or perpetually seeking validation or something better, sure. Some people have cheated in retaliation to being cheated on, didn't before or after. Circumstances are everything in life. Story 22. I think it is 100% true. Once you break that level of trust with someone you pour that much of yourself into, what is to stop that person from doing it again? Story 23. I think as a society we're a bit picky with what labels we attach to people eternally. Would you brand someone a thief in their 40s if they shoplifted a couple of times as a 21-year-old and never stole again? Is someone who was a bully in high school a bully for life? I think people are capable of change, and shackling people to identities that don't correlate to how they live their lives any longer can dissuade some people from seeking growth or seeing it as a possibility. Just as if you told a kid they will never amount to anything, they can internalize that and make life decisions aligned with that estimation of their value. This isn't to say we don't call out wrongdoing, but person-first language like someone who has cheated in the past, as opposed to cheater, makes more room for grace and growth. Some will say it's just semantics, but words have immense power. When I think about people who have betrayed or hurt me, I reflexively think of them as nothing more than their wrongdoings. But when I think of the hurt I've caused to others, I see how complex I am as a person and know I am more than that, which does require introspection and a commitment not to repeat harms done. Story 24. Objectively untrue and also doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about it. So first of all, people have cheated and then never cheated again. So right there, we can throw that phrase out the window. But if you wanted to get a little deeper into it, what is it supposed to imply? That people cannot, will not, or do not change or improve. We know that's not true. Life is a series of lessons, and hopefully, if you're a decent person, you're going to want to make yourself a better person. People do it all the time. Even if, for completely selfish reasons, someone is likely to make the realization, every time I cheat, I lose my loved one. Maybe I should stop doing that. Story 25. Not necessarily. People make stupid mistakes, especially when they're going through rough patches. If it was when the relationship was on the rocks, it could still be worth saving. I know plenty of people who have messed up but stayed together and had great relationships. It depends on the reason. Unfortunately, it's easy to see who is a wrongdoer when you're outside the relationship, not so easy when you're in it. Story 26. Naive and stupid. It is a quote for those without humanity. Clearly, people can change. Most parents raise children through negative reinforcement, which is punishing bad behavior through fear. And it works. Kids learn not to do something to avoid the punishment. It is the same with adults and laws. Humans always push boundaries. They just need to be reprimanded when they cross the line. Since people can change, this quote is used by idiots. Story 27, short-term, true. But over years or decades, people grow, and once they end up on the other side of the equation, they can learn how difficult it really is. Some people just don't have empathy and need to experience things in person to learn. Story 28. There's some truth to it. Someone who cheats is almost always going to be someone who doesn't fully understand why cheating is wrong, which makes that person less than trustworthy. I wouldn't fully rule out the possibility of a person learning how and why to be a good person, but that's something that many people just fake. Story 29. I cannot say I have put it to the test, but if someone is willing to violate their partner's trust once, I would bet money they would do it again. I have been cheated on before, and it really sucks. If I started dating someone and they told me they had cheated before, that would be the immediate end of the relationship. I am fortunate to have found a wife with the same experience and the same thoughts on the matter. It helps make our relationship feel that much more secure. If you are unhappy and feeling unfaithful, break off your current relationship before you start sleeping around. Otherwise, you are a jerk just hoping to crawl back to a committed partner you do not deserve. Story 30. I think there's some truth to it, but I would not necessarily call it a rule. But if someone cheats and the repercussions are something they can live with, then they might feel safe doing it again. Story 31. Cheating usually happens because there is either something that a relationship isn't meeting and someone is unhappy, or someone has some personal development work to do on themselves. Change is the only constant in life, and I believe this applies to how people grow and change as well. I have done some bad things in the past in relationships that I am not proud of. I was a different person then, navigating some rather difficult things. I've put a lot of work into myself and continue to every day, and I would never want to be held hostage to the former versions of myself. My past is a part of my journey, but no longer who I am, and I extend the same latitude to others as well. If they've cheated in the past, I want to learn about the circumstances around it and how they've grown. To say once a cheater, always a cheater, is a limiting and unfair application to the breadth of human change. You would never say to someone who has overcome addiction, once an addict, always an addict. And instead, you would applaud the resilience and hard work that they've done. If someone cheated in the past and looked deep within themselves to understand why and did the work to confront it, take accountability and grow, isn't that something to be admired? Story 32. Not at all true. People grow up, people change. I've never done it myself, but learning that someone once did is nowhere near the biggest red flag I could imagine. Story 33. Personally, that's been my motto with dealing with cheaters. Luckily, I've only dealt with one once and did not give her a second chance, and it's a damn good thing I did because she cheated on the next 3 guys, including one she married. That being said, I know a girl who did it once, regretted it, and vowed never to do it again and now has been married for 20 years. So I guess it's not always true, but personally for me, I would never get with a woman I knew cheated, just personal preference. Story 34. While they might actually change and stop being a cheater, the fact that they were able to betray someone's trust on that level in the first place means I would probably never be able to trust them again. Anytime something in our relationship happened where I would have to give them the benefit of the doubt, there would always be something eating away at the back of my mind. Story 35. Everyone might be capable of doing something, but going through with it is a different story entirely. You might change, learn from your mistake, and never do it again, but you will always be that person responsible for someone else's pain. You will always be someone who took that extra step and did not care who went down as a result of it. To me, the statement is not, once you cheat, you're destined to cheat again. I interpret it more as, once you cheat, we now know that was something you were able to go through with. I'm no longer able to give you the benefit. Story 36. There's a lot of truth to it. I spent a lot of time in the relationship subreddit, and many people get cheated on more than once. The reason is that usually, cheaters don't properly acknowledge their actions, nor are they willing to go to therapy and address the root of the issue. More often than not, one of their parents cheated on the other, which affected them in deep ways. This isn't the only reason, but unless the cheater goes to therapy and does a lot of self-work, they will cheat again, unfortunately. While there could be many reasons on the surface, cheating usually stems from a lack of confidence, selfishness, and insecurities. And those are usually rooted in deeper issues. It's usually easier to cheat again than to take a hard look at that.